November, the Coquitlam River Watershed Society held a community event which included speakers from the City of Coquitlam and other stewardship groups in the region. Tri-Cities Community TV was there and brings you this coverage.
Well, thank you all so much for coming out today. I'm so glad to see so many members of our community out for this event. I know every time I go out into the community for an event, I get so many questions about how the watershed is doing, how are the fish doing, how are the trees doing, and so this event is designed to answer those questions for you all. So really good to see so many people coming out who care about the watershed. For those of you who are not very familiar with the Coquitlam River Watershed Roundtable, we're a group of representatives from organizations who work in the watershed and who rely on its continued health. Our organizations include representatives from government, including First Nations, stewardship, arts, business, and education. And many of the folks from the roundtable are here with us tonight. You can recognize them by their name tags. The Coquitlam River Watershed Roundtable has been undergoing a bit of an organizational change recently, and so going forward you might hear of us as the Coquitlam River Watershed Society, or CRWS. But our mission remains the same, which is to preserve and enhance the health of the Coquitlam River Watershed through education, collaboration, and advisory action. And you can learn more about our activities at our table here tonight, or by visiting our website at coquitlamriverwatershed.ca. I'd like to thank our funders and partners who have made this event possible. The Fish and Wildlife Program of BC Hydro has directly funded this event. And other funding and support has been generously provided by the Coquitlam First Nation, the Greater Vancouver Water District, the City of Coquitlam, the City of Port Coquitlam, and Fisheries and Oceans Canada. I'd also like to acknowledge those joining us with information tables tonight. So thanks to the Tri-City Green Council, Hoyscott Watershed Society, the City of Coquitlam's Climate Action Program, Fish and Wildlife Compensation Program, Watershed Watch Salmon Society, and of course the Coquitlam River Watershed Roundtable. And also a big thanks to our planning team who was, you saw hustling around here just as we were getting started. And that's Jacqueline Chan, Jenny Yeung, Sherry Carroll, and Margaret Birch. We also have our photographer, or original photographies, Tina Louise Harris here with us, and Tri-City Community TV reporting. So thanks to all of those folks. I'd like to introduce our speakers. We have with us Angela Yeung, Environmental Services Project Specialist from the City of Coquitlam, Jason McNair, Principal Living Resources Environmental Consultant, Rodney Lee, who's leading the Coquitlam River Sockeye Restoration Program on behalf of the Coquitlam First Nation, Aaron Goraby, Urban Park Forestry and Park Services Manager from the City of Coquitlam, Laura Sampliner, Environmental Sustainability Manager from the City of Coquitlam. We were also expecting Theo Madi at some point, so maybe he's just running a little bit late, from the City of Coquitlam, who will speak about Maple Creek restoration. I'd also like to take this time to acknowledge that we are meeting here on the traditional and unceded territory of the Coquitlam First Nation, and they have stewarded these lands and waters for millennia and continue to do so, and we're very grateful for their care of the land, the waters, and everything above and below. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Councillor Steve Kim to say a few remarks.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. Hello, everyone. How are you? I would also like to start off by gratefully acknowledging that the City of Coquitlam operates on the unceded, traditional, and ancestral territory of the Coquitlam First Nation. I'm very proud that Coquitlam, the name Coquitlam, is derived from the Hunkaminam word Coquitlam, which means red fish up the river, and for us as a city to have that relationship with our First Nations is very important. And we thank them for their stewardship of the land and, of course, the watershed, which we're all here for today as well. I guess I'll start off with a question. I see a lot of familiar faces, but is anyone here for the first time? Oh, there we go. Fantastic. Well, welcome. For myself, for this term, this being my second term, I'm now the alternate, but last term I was the council representative for the roundtable, and I got to say, it was a big learning experience. Not only about learning about our watershed, but also about all the amazing people who have dedicated their lives to the stewardship of not only the river, the watershed, but the salmon, of course, the plants and the trees that also surround our watershed. And I have to say, I'm still a student. So if you are here for the first time, I would say please reach out and talk to everyone here. Everyone was an incredible and continues to be an incredible teacher for me as I continue to learn about our watershed. And that's from someone who his family moved here in 1981. So there's a lot more that we can continue to learn, and it's just so great to see all the experts here that are giving their time to convey their information about our water quality. So with that being said, I hope tonight is a watershed moment, pun intended, where we all take a moment to really think about the type of involvement that you can do to get involved with now the society and the roundtable, because it really is a tremendous group of people who are really focused and dedicated to building a better and stronger watershed into the future. So good to see you all. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you very much, Steve. So with that, I'm going to introduce Angela Yeung, Environmental Services Project Specialist, to speak about water quality in the Coquitlam River. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you everyone for having me here tonight. Again, my name is Angela Yeung, and I'm an Environmental Services Project Specialist with the City of Coquitlam. And today I will be presenting on Coquitlam River water quality monitoring. So I'll first start off by going over a quick introduction and providing some background information on the city's water quality monitoring programs before going into some further details on the Coquitlam River monitoring program. I'll then share results from 2022, and then I'll cover some other city initiatives that we have in place to promote watershed health. And like Georgia mentioned, we're saving questions for the very end. So Coquitlam contains over 300 kilometers of watercourses. The city monitors urban watersheds to address impacts and threats, to identify appropriate adaptive management actions, and also to ensure creeks are routinely monitored. So the city has several policies, plans, and programs in place that are critical to managing watershed health and creeks. But for water quality monitoring, there are two main programs. One is the citywide monitoring program, and one is the Coquitlam River water quality monitoring program. Both of these follow the monitoring and adaptive management framework developed by Metro Vancouver, also abbreviated to AMF. So this framework, AMF, was developed to assess watershed health and to assess the effectiveness of integrated watershed management plans, or IWMPs. Now, the Coquitlam River doesn't have an IWMP due to limited development in the area, but the city recognizes the importance of this watershed and follows a similar protocol to address the health of the river. So the AMF provides water quality guidelines and standards for our region. It recommends that watercourses be monitored on a 5-year basis and also provides the parameters that should be tested during each monitoring cycle. So there are 13 different parameters that they outline, and they're broken up into primary and secondary parameters. AMF states that primary parameters are the most relevant to watershed health, with secondary parameters providing supporting information. So as you can see, they're summarized in this table. For primary parameters, we have dissolved oxygen, temperature, turbidity, we have nutrients and nitrates, For microbiological, it's E. coli and fecal coliforms, and then also metals, which are cadmium, copper, iron, lead, and zinc. For secondary parameters, it's pH and conductivity. So as you can see in this table, there are values for each parameter that have been categorized into 3 colored categories: green for good, yellow for satisfactory, and red for needs attention. So the AMF recommends that 5 sampling sessions occur in a dry season and another 5 in the wet season, and the average for season is compared to this table. So for Coquitlam River, there are 7 locations that have been selected along the main stem. These locations receive stormwater inputs from a variety of different land use, from undeveloped to residential to commercial and industrial areas. They're highlighted in this map, the different locations. So following AMF protocol, we did 5 sampling days in the dry season and another 5 in the wet season in November and December. At each location, we collected grab samples that were sent off for lab analysis. So general for turbidity, pH, and I forgot to list conductivity up there, and then also nitrates, metals, and microbiological, so E. coli and fecal coliform. We also had in situ readings taken using our handheld meters. This is for dissolved oxygen and also temperature. We also have continuous turbidity monitoring at 2 locations. So all of the fieldwork was completed by city environment staff, and the data that was collected was sent off to a consultant for review. So here is a figure that kind of summarizes results over time. You can see that there's a report card given for each sampling location, and data goes back to 2012. So full AMF sampling was done annually from 2012 to 2014, and then it was done again in 2017. In 2017, based off the results, Council supported the decision to put a pause on the full AMF monitoring until remediation actions were taken in the area or until a 5-year cycle came up as per the AMF guidelines. So that brings us to 2022 when we completed the sampling. So it might be a bit difficult to see, but the categories are broken up into the primary and secondary categories per year, and the numbers in each box represent the number of parameters that fell within each category. Again, this is based off an average of 5 sampling sessions per season, and the totals include both wet and dry season. So I'll go further into our results from 2022. So here is a summary of the dry season. As you can see, we have these 7 locations with the parameters. I'm sure the first thing that sticks out is the red. So we did find that temperature was reading on the higher level in most locations, with averages above 18 degrees bringing it into the needs attention category. We also see that dissolved oxygen, or DO, was yellow across all locations. This is similar to 2017, and it's also not that surprising, as low DO is often correlated with higher temperatures. We also see that we had E. coli in the yellow category at Colony Farm, but it is just barely over. The limit from green to yellow is 77, so we're just barely into the yellow category, and this is still within the Canadian guidelines for recreational water quality. We also have 2 metals in the yellow category. So we have cadmium at Pitt's location and zinc at Colony Farm. Both of these averages were influenced by one single sampling, one sample. So the consultant, after review, said it could have been from a point source, but it also could have been from sampling or analytical error. And in general, cadmium and zinc throughout all samples were pretty consistent or even improved from 2017 levels. Next, we have our wet season results. So we see a lot of green, which is great, but we also see temperature in the yellow category across all locations, this time from lower or cooler readings with averages below 7 degrees. And we also see turbidity in the yellow category for the Falaka location, where Falaka Creek meets the Coquitlam River. So this is in yellow, but it also has improved from 2017, when it was an average of 47 NTU and in the red category. This location, where Falaka Creek, has been heavily influenced by significant slope failures in the past, and we see it's still subject to continuous erosion. So although it has improved, we do see higher turbidity readings, especially during rain events. So this is a quick visual of what we saw at the Falaka location in 2017 and 2022. Both of these were taken on rainy days during the wet sampling seasons. And on the topic of turbidity, we do have 2 continuous turbidity monitoring probes deployed in the river. So these are in the hatchery location upstream and downstream at Galette. So there's a photo of our deployment tubes that are put in. And these probes measure turbidity and temperature in 15-minute intervals. So we deployed these probes during the AMF sampling period, and the data collected during that time was also shared with our consultants for further analysis. But we also still have the probes deployed in the river at the moment, and staff attend weekly to download stored data and ensure regular maintenance is occurring. So we're getting some good background information. Here's the results from the data that we provided for the consultants to review. So this data spans from July to January. So we have hatchery, the upstream location in the turquoise line, Galette in the red, and then we have the blue bars coming from the top representing rainfall. In general, most samples that were collected fell within the AMF green category. But we do see higher values at Galette, the downstream location, compared to hatchery, and the mean values for November and December were in the yellow category. So I know I just presented a lot of data, but overall here are the highlights of our results. So 96% of total samples collected during our monitoring period met or exceeded water quality guidelines. And this surpassed the goal set out in the Environmental Sustainability Plan, which had a goal of 90%. And we also noticed significant improvement in turbidity over the years. This is a snapshot of 2017 and 2022. We can definitely see improvement in the wet season, with most sites going from the yellow category down to green, and Falaka improving from red to yellow. So moving forward, the program will continue on in 5 years, and because we found smaller changes in water quality over time from 2017 to 2022, and also between locations, it's been recommended to downscale the locations selected for the AMF monitoring down to 3 core locations, but in situ readings can still be taken at the remaining locations. And although this scheduled monitoring program occurs only every 5 years, staff still continue to monitor areas of concern. So we have staff investigating complaints, spot checking trouble areas, out during rain events doing patrols. And as I mentioned, we still have our probes out in the river, so staff are out almost weekly. And next, I just want to highlight some other policies and programs we have in place to water quality and watershed health. First, our stream and drainage system protection bylaw. So this bylaw is in place to prevent deleterious substance from entering our storm sewers and our water courses. This bylaw outlines erosion and sediment control requirements for development, and also has water quality discharge requirements for pH and turbidity. In 2023, this bylaw was updated to include real-time monitoring requirements. This is a new innovative technology that is very helpful in providing water quality readings in real time to users, and also it prevents prohibited discharge by recirculating non-compliant site water. Currently, it's only rolled out in the Stony Creek catchment area, but there are tools to implement it in areas or for non-compliant sites. Council has requested staff report back after a year of experience with this technology, and we do expect to provide recommendations for further expansion into other watersheds. And a few of our other engagement initiatives that we have, some volunteer programs, the Adopt a Catch Basin and Storm Drain Marking Program. These are great initiatives to remind the public that only rain goes down the drain. All of our catch basins lead to sensitive ecosystems. We also had a storm drain education door hanger developed in partnership with Coquitlam First Nation and BC Housing. And these door hangers were distributed to over 900 homes in the Mundy and Logie wetland watersheds. We do have school education programs presented by Green Bricks, and this will focus on water conservation and watershed health and preserving the resource. And within the last year, we also developed educational material on fat, oil, and grease disposal, which was distributed to all food-related businesses in Coquitlam. And lastly, of course, we have to highlight all of the great work done by the community stewardship groups. And to wrap up my presentation, just a reminder of spill response. So we do a lot of proactive work in the city to take care of the watersheds, but we do want to remind the public to report any spills or pollution events that they come across as soon as possible to our 24/7 customer service line. We dispatch staff accordingly, and it makes sure that staff can attend as soon as possible to further investigate if needed.